Now, mate, you're the one of the reasons that this movie Stone has been able to be released on Blu-ray. So I was wondering if you could start off by telling us a little bit about what this movie means to you.
Oh, I think it's an overstatement to say that I'm one of the reasons why this film's getting released on Blu-ray. Um, Stone is an iconic film that it has been since it debuted in 1974, and it's a film that still speaks to so many people. It kind of, America had its own subculture of AIP biker movies, but none of them really spoke to bikers themselves. Whereas Stone really talked to real motorcyclists in Australia, and I think that's part of its appeal and part of its longevity, and why it's still as powerful today as it was when it was made.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the first time you ever saw the film, and what was it that really hit you about the film when you saw it?
Look, it's funny. I'm too young to certainly have seen it when it came out, and I saw it after I'd seen a whole lot of films that obviously it had gone some way to inspiring, like The Man from Hong Kong and Mad Max. I think that neither of those films would really have existed if Stone hadn't been made. Certainly, they share the same cast and crew, but also I just guess that Australia really didn't know what it could achieve back when Stone was made. It didn't know that it could put amazing stunts and amazing action on screen. And it was the fact that people like George Miller and Trent Smith saw what Sandy had been able to do that encouraged them, I guess, to some degree, to make their films. So, for me, I saw it much later on, and it's certainly a really interesting film because it's of its time. But
Yeah.
it still packs quite a punch in terms of its finale, in terms of the action, the stunts, and the really, there's no dilution of attitude or violence in that film. It's all pretty in your face still.
Definitely. Now, you're listed as project manager on the press release in front of me. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with Stone and its release on Blu-ray.
I don't know what project. What did you say? Was those projects liaison or something?
Projects manager.
Look, I guess I was the producer of the Blu-ray. In a documentary a while ago called Not Quite Hollywood, which examined Australian genre cinema, and Stone was a large part of that. And I also worked with Umbrella a long time ago, getting Stone its first DVD release. So I certainly knew all the people involved and knew all the materials. And after making Not Quite Hollywood, I sort of felt in some way protective of these films to make sure that if they were going to get a release, they were going to get the best release possible, because I was very aware that there are only so many future formats, and this could be the last chance that Stone gets remastered, that Stone gets released in physical media. So it was all about just protecting the legacy of Sandy and of Stone, and getting it, the most complete package we could to, tell the history of the film, and also let the film be seen in the best possible way. And that meant, doing a 4K transfer that Sandy was very happy with as well.
Yeah. Mark, your documentary, Not Quite Hollywood, put so many of these movies back on the map for a new generation of film lovers and also filmmakers. How important is it that movies like Stone get that remastering and are released back out there so that a new generation of film lovers can watch them?
I think the one thing I discovered when we were screening Not Quite Hollywood is that younger audiences couldn't believe in their wildest dreams that Australia ever made films like that. It was just such an eye-opening experience for them. And I think that's still the case with younger audiences. They don't understand that we have this really rich legacy of films that were made to find wide audiences and to entertain. And to some degree, people are a bit dismissive of Australian films these days because we do seem to make the same kinds of stories. But back then, we certainly told all kinds of stories and tried to go for the jugular in terms of, drawing the audience into the film.
Yeah. Now, a lot of our listeners out there have probably gone out and seen a movie or bought a movie that's been remastered. But for those out there that might not know what that means, what exactly does a remastered version of a film mean?
look, back in those days, everything was shot on 35mm. That's not the case now. But so all that original 35mm negative material exists, most of it in the National Film and Sound Archive. So it's about going back into the archive, going deep into the vault, and pulling out the original material that is kind of the first generation of what the film was shot on, and transferring that to a digital format, so that it doesn't lose any quality at all and looks, in most cases, better than it did when it was projected back in its original release. So it's a big and expensive undertaking, but as I say, it's probably the last time that, it will be done, because I can't see many more home entertainment formats appearing.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned before that you wanted Sandy to be really happy with this product as well. Tell us a little bit about that process of working with the filmmaker to make sure that they're happy with the release.
Sure. Look, I got brought into this project to be basically the liaison between Sandy and everything that was happening. Sandy is a heroic figure, but also a tragic figure in the Australian film industry, because he only made the one film. Stone's his only credit as a director. And so he's always been very, very protective of that film. And I knew how much Stone's legacy was also intertwined with Sandy's legacy. So it was about, getting him as happy as he could be with what we were doing. And very sadly, he died about 3/4 of the way through the process. But thankfully, he had seen the transfer at that point, and was very happy with the grade that we'd done, and was very happy with how the film was going to look on people's televisions.
Definitely. This is a great legacy, not only for his film, but also for his career as well. And I guess to finish up, Mark, what would you like to say to people out there about that want to go and buy a copy of Stone? Why should they buy a copy, and what do you think will happen when they watch this film, especially for the first time?
Look, I think people who love Stone will want to get it because, they've never seen it look as good as this before. It also comes with hours and hours of extras. One of the great things is that when we shot Not Quite Hollywood, obviously we couldn't include all the material that we shot in the finished documentary. So I had hours and hours of interviews with all these people, and I managed to put about 2 hours of interviews we shot for Not Quite Hollywood on this Stone Blu-ray, including about an hour with Sandy. And he's really, really interesting to listen to, telling his tale, and the real sort of no bullshit, no censored stories behind the making of the film. So that's part of the reason to get it. It also comes in a limited edition with the soundtrack, and the soundtrack is pretty much of its time as well, but a great listen. And look, if you love your Mad Maxes and you love the works of Brian Trenshaw Smith, and you just love seeing Aussie action on screen, certainly Stone's well worth the investment.
Definitely. Well, Mark, we thank you so much for your time today, and we can't wait to see what you're going to do next in the film world as well. We're all waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, well, the other great interesting thing too, thanks to Umbrella, Not Quite Hollywood's also getting re-released on Blu-ray, I think, in the coming months, and that will also be a brand new transfer and lots of extras. So that's something to maybe use as a little bit of an entree into Ozploitation and start writing your lists.
Definitely. Well, mate, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure.
All right, mate. I'll let you go. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
No, thanks very much.
See ya. Bye.